Greetings duelists and welcome to another video. So, Rage of the Abyss is right around the corner. By the time of this recording, it's pretty much the day before the sneak peek event, and then the set would be actually legal on the 10th, which would be next week. 10th or 11th, I think it's one of those 2 days. So what you see here on the screen are a bunch of monsters. If you look at this card right here at the side of the screen, we've already talked about this card a lot. Like, in my opinion, this is like the best card in the set, if not the second best card. Like, a lot of people will debate you whether or not Full Loss is like a little bit more impactful than this card, but like, out of the top 3 cards in Rage of the Abyss, this is like pretty much up there. So, if you understand how strong this card is, like, you already know that this card really works well with some of these archetypes. Like, without the Fiendsmith engine, because I do have to mention the Fiendsmith engine on this part, Duel, at least like the control side of Duel, can play this card. The Mermaid Atlantean theme can play this card. Tempai Dragons, I will make another video about this, but I think Tempai Dragons really become like one of the better decks in the format thanks to this card. Unchained is another card that can play this, like all Fire Kings. Labyrinth, in my opinion, is like the best deck that can play that card, just because of the synergy it has with the furnitures and like with all the lab monsters. So you're wondering why this Mimical monster is here. Some people are aware of this ruling, but some people are not. For those who don't know, if you give Mimicals to your opponent and your opponent in some instance activates Dominus Impulse, it shuts down all the Mimical monsters when they're flipped on their side of the field, because they're controlling it, and these are all Earth monsters, meaning that Mimicals are not really that favorable into any deck that can play this card, which is kind of sad to say because it kind of dwindles the playability behind Mimicals. But yeah, now let's talk about a few things that people are probably not aware of when it comes to this card. The first one I want to bring up is, let's see if it's here. Yeah, here it is. So, number 41, Baguska. So, Baguska is an Earth XYZ monster, and he does have a mandatory effect during each standby phase to detach a material. If you Dominus Impulse and then you summon Baguska, you do not have to detach a material during each standby phase because the trap won't allow you to do it. Meaning that you pretty much have a Baguska that pretty much just stays on the board every single turn without worrying of the self-destruction effect. So that could be a really big deal depending on what deck you're playing. Like, let's say for example you're playing the Labyrinth deck and you just summon Baguska after you resolve this card, and your opponent is just trying to wait until they can play around the Baguska. Well, joke's on them. You can't detach for Baguska, so Baguska stays. So that's one ruling to mention when it comes to Dominus Impulse. There are other cards that are pretty much very, very powerful, even like with Dominus Impulse shutting them down. If you decide to play the stun strategy, like this card does not stop the Koseka, it does not stop Inspector Border, it does stop the tributing effect of Thunder King Ryo, but you can still just stun your opponent by keeping Ryo on board. It does stop Pachycephalo from doing its flip effect, but again, like, you mainly care about keeping Fossil Dyna like face up on the field, so you really don't care about Impulse when it comes to this card. Another really important one is Amano Iwado. Amano Iwado is another monster that is really, really powerful, but it does have an end phase effect to return this thing to the hand. This effect actually activates and this starts a chain. So if you Dominus Impulse and you summon Amano Iwato, the Amano Iwato stays. This is very similar to how it was played with the Adventure engine and how the Adventure cards made it so you do not get Amano Iwato back to your hand. So that's another really powerful card that you can just pair with Dominus Impulse. So any deck that can play any of these cards, like, you're just getting extra benefits because of Dominus Impulse effect. Now let's talk about other strategies or like other interactions that people are probably not familiar with. Let's draw a few cards here. So you're looking at all these pendulum monsters. You're noticing how all of these have the attributes that lock under Impulse. Dominus Impulse lock all these monsters from their normal monster effects. If you activate them in the scale, they are not a monster card anymore. They are a spell card. And if you read Dominus Impulse, it says you cannot activate the effects of these monsters. You can still place them in the pendulum scale. And in the pendulum scale, they are not monsters. They are still spell cards. Meaning that cards like Master Cerberus, Oath Dragon Magician, Wisdom Eye Magician, Rescue Hamster, the Kendo Spirits, all these cards, they all activate in the scale, and they all can do their scale effects under the Dominus Impulse. So I figure I just give a brief mention to like the Dominus Impulse itself. I think this card is very powerful. This is like my favorite card of Rage of the Abyss. I think a lot of people actually have to like start learning how to play around this card. I might make more guides on this, but for now I just wanted to bring up like those really niche interactions that involve this card, because I'm pretty sure not many people are aware of them. And yeah, this is pretty much it for now. I hope you found this informative and to your liking and understanding. Another video coming very soon. Keep practicing and keep dueling.